Today we travelled to one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Brisbane, Australia. And the reason we travelled here was because we have been invited to sit down with the person that will easily go down in history as one of the most controversial political figures in Australia and maybe even the world. This woman, 20 plus years ago, when she delivered her maiden speech at government, polarised an entire country with her rhetoric and the language that she used. Fast forward 20-something years, I now find myself in an incredibly unique situation where I get to sit down face to face, nose to nose, in her office in Parliament House in George Street, Brisbane, with Senator Pauline Hanson. This interview will blow your socks off. 60 minutes, eat your heart out.
Superpowers, I got superpowers. Superpowers, I got superpowers. Superpowers, working 7 days a week in 24 hours.
Senator Pauline Hanson, welcome to the show. Welcome to Become Your Own Superhero.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for allowing us into your beautiful office here up on whatever floor it is in the middle of beautiful Brisbane in Queensland, Australia.
It is. I can't complain. It is fantastic views of Brisbane. And actually, I grew up only about 5 k's down the road from here. So it's very much home. The cricket grounds, I was just around the corner from that. And that's where Mum and Dad had the shop, cafe, and that's where I grew up and learnt my work ethic. And having to pay your board, for one, you're on $16.30 a night, you work an extra night. And Dad in the shop, and Dad paid me $5 for waitressing. I walk upstairs and hand over my $5 a month for board. So anyway, memories.
Well, it's magnificent. Today is June 6, 2024, and there's two really special things that have happened today. Today's the 80th anniversary of D-Day, incidentally.
Oh, yes.
Which is interesting. But ordinarily, metaphorically, I would say, Pauline, we would need to make the planets align to make something like this happen. But they actually are in alignment at the moment, all of them. Can you believe that?
No, please explain.
So Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Uranus are all in alignment. They were literally in alignment. Yeah.
I didn't know what you meant was aligned. You and I getting this in view. So
it's metaphorically and actually aligned, which is just a miracle of the universe. There's so many places that I was interested to go meeting you today. You're such a fascinating character to me, and I've got a real soft spot for you because my mum's a reader as well. But as I've gotten to learn more and more about you, I will admit that I used to not like you at all.
I've heard that before.
And as I went through my healing journey, which I mentioned to you before, interestingly enough, my political views have shifted slightly in my perspective, and maybe it's a combination of age and number of other things. What do you think's happening inside me as a representative of other people that are sharing this kind of information with you that's taken place?
Prior to that, I say you were a closed book, but you only actually you were in this little space, and you've actually have grown and matured where you've opened up your mind to actually listen to things around you. So this is what's happened with a lot of people. I've had quite a few come up to me on the street and come up to me and they said, Pauline, I owe you an apology. And I said, oh, what for? They said, I was one of the ones that actually campaigned or protested against you years ago. I didn't understand what you stood for. Now I do. Now I understand that you're all for Australia, what you're trying to explain to us. And so they said, I'm sorry, because I was one of those uni students that came out and protested against you. So they've actually grown. They're now around about, I'm talking about 20 years on. So life changes. Your experience in life, getting out there, you actually get a real job in the real world. You have to pay your taxes. You understand the stresses and strains of life, and you're not under your parents' roof anymore paying your bills. And that's why these people were given the wrong message of what I actually represented, what I stood for. And people had their own agendas. It was major political parties that saw me as a threat. That's why Tony Abbott took up a slush fund to start a court case against me to get rid of me. So it's all these reasons. The major political parties, the politicians, the media, their own left-leaning views, instead of reporting backs. They had their own opinion pieces, and it was everything. And even, I'll tell you this, even Rupert Murdoch in 1998 put out a bonus to his journalists who could get any dirt on me.
Did they find anything?
No, because there's nothing there. But that's how far they went. You know, even the court case, which led to my imprisonment, which was later then overturned. So a lot of things that have happened over the years is because the people saw me as a threat and they had to stop me. It's only been a two-party preferred system in Australia. We have to change that.
I had this idea as we were driving down to meet you, and I hadn't really thought this through, so just humour me. What if, hypothetically, one of the major political parties decided inextricably to adopt all of the One Nation policies and then, by some miracle of God, agreed to follow through on everything? Given the number of political people in there, what would you then do?
They have picked, well, just so you viewers and yourself, they've picked up a lot of my policies over the years, starting with John Howard. So they have done that. You know, I'm here and people are starting to vote for One Nation because they're not addressing their concerns. So that's why people are turning to One Nation for my policies and what I stand for and patriotic Australian, and I care about the people here. And so if they actually did the right by the people, they wouldn't be leaving them in droves. So these political parties, the majors, Labor and the Liberal and the National Party, if they did their jobs and represented the people instead of worrying about their own jobs and what they need to do to get re-elected next time around, then there wouldn't be a need for One Nation. But as long as I'm here, I'm getting more and more people elected to Parliament, whether it be in state or federal Parliament, because they're not doing the job.
And it seems to be reaching a tipping point as things seem to be progressing more in the negative from an economic point of view. And I don't want to focus on the negative so much because there's plenty of media out there to focus on that. One of the questions I had around I've learned through my own journey, and I've read 750 books in the last 6 years, ferocious. I used to read one a year if I was lucky. And I've consumed thousands of hours, and I've been exposed to some of the best transformational speakers and motivational people on the planet. And the power of language is super duper important.
Yeah.
The term Aussie battler is something that I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think, given this affirmational, really subconscious programming of the battler, the battler, the battler? Is there an alternative, positive, affirmational name that we can bring into Australian culture, do you think?
Well, the Aussie battler is referring to those people who really do not tough out there. They're flat out just putting a roof over their head and cost of living. And there's a lot more Australians who are facing that now. So over the years, because of government policies and directions, we've lost the middle class Australian. You always had those Aussie battlers. But now the middle class Australians are actually struggling more so. The people here who are doing quite well are getting richer, and middle class are disappearing, and you've got the Aussie battler that's actually coming along. Can I find another word for it? I possibly can't. You know, there's working class poor. That's another terminology that we came up with. It was One Nation in 1997. We used that terminology, and it's got worse as it is. But the trouble is that governments, you know, people are doing it tougher. So governments are giving more and more handouts all the time, which causes more of a problem. And what I mean by that is that when you actually have a welfare system, there's no time limit on it. You can be on it for 10, 20, 30 years, which people are. Mm-hmm. Then you get rent assistance, and you get travel expenses, then you get health benefits, you get your prescriptions paid for. It gets to a stage where people think, well, why should I go to work? You know, it pays me more to go to work. I'm away from my family. I'm in the traffic jams to get to work and get home again. So they're actually choosing not to work. So the person next door who has to go to work every morning and then, you know, come home late and sees the neighbour next door sitting around doing nothing, that gets on the goat of a lot of people and say, why am I paying taxes for them just to sit there and do absolutely nothing? Because the government keeps getting out more and more. So whether it's family tax benefits A and B, you know, it goes on and on and on. And we have to really think, people should be working. Unless you've got a real reason why you shouldn't be working, people should be working. No one owes you a living. The neighbour next door doesn't need to actually work to put a roof over your head. That's your responsibility. And we're now getting the fourth generation. We have real problems out there because of the governments. Once they bring it in, it's hard to take back. So we're only making rub for our own back and for the future generations.
I love that you shared that, Pauline. I get the feeling as I get to learn more and more about you that you seem to be the epitome of taking full ownership of your life. Am I reading that right?
Yes, I do.
Where did you get that from?
Probably from my parents. As I said to you, my parents had a cafe and 7 children. Anyway, we actually started working. As soon as I was 12, I was actually working in the shop on a Saturday behind the milk bar. At 15, I'd left school. I had a full-time job at Drug Houses of Australia at West End. My pay was $16.30 a week. Big money. And then on a Thursday night, I'd finish my job. I'd come home, 9 to 5. It was 8:30 till 5. I'd come home and change, put on my uniform, and then I'd waitress in the shop at 15 from 6 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'd get $5 for that from Dad. And I'd walk upstairs and hand it over to Mum for board. So it was always about the work ethic. All of my brothers and sisters we've all got a fantastic work ethic. And I learned that from my father and my mother as well, who worked beside him. But Dad worked 106 hours a week in the shop for 25 years. And very hard worker, very principled man, very honest, so I think, we've learnt that from him. No one gave us anything.
Yeah. What a gift. What a beautiful gift from Mum and Dad.
Well, it is, but there's a lot of parents out there. Times have changed when we didn't have those computers. We didn't have phones. We didn't have the what can I say? The TV. We didn't get TV till Jeeps. I remember Dad put one up in the shop. We used to sit behind the milk bar and watch it. Well, no, that's where the first TV that we had.
Coronation Street right then?
Oh, no, I can't remember Coronation Street. It was so funny. No, we used to watch Superman and Rin Tin Tin. And so anyway, then we eventually got TV in the house. But all these things, these days, the kids, they've got to have those name brands, clothing or shoes. Well, they must have a phone. They must have computers and all the rest of it. And parents reluctantly, give it to them.
Pauline, do you have a relationship with Source or God or whatever you want to call it?
No.
How would you describe what you have, if anything?
My own inner strength and what I've been actually taught to have compassion and respect for other people. Being a member of Parliament is a privilege. It really is. And to gain the trust of people to want to vote for you, because at the end of the day, I have to represent them to the best of my ability. But too many politicians now become career politicians. And what it is, it's, what do I have to do to actually make sure I get elected next time around? With me, this is what you see is what you get. If you don't like it, don't vote for me. And that's my attitude. And so I have to be true to myself, and I have to be true to the people as well. So that's why I don't hold back, and I will call it the way it is. And because we have to have honest debate if we're going to find the answers to it. Because not only being a representative, you also have to be a problem solver when it comes to politics. And that's what a lot of the people I see in Parliament, they have no idea. They're not problem solvers.
I didn't realise this when I wrote it, Pauline, but this is my gift to you. This is a copy of my book. And I put on you, by the way, former pathological gambler and degenerate. What I've done is I've put everything that I've done in my life, good and bad, and I've taken full ownership for it. And I've often thought about, long before I came and sat down with you, that if I ever ran for politics, if they were ever trying to dig up anything, I could point them gently in the direction of the book. So, and now I try and live my life in integrity, so I don't have to keep any secrets. And like we say, tell the truth so you never have to remember anything. If you were going to hire someone for your political party, what are the key attributes that are you going to want in order for that to be successful?
Second, have to be hardworking, have to be honest, and compassionate towards other people. Don't think that you're going to get a job to ride on my coattails and get name into Parliament and sit there and do absolutely nothing. Actually, I've got rid of a couple of members of my Parliament because of that. You know, you have an obligation to the people to do the work, do the job. You won't be around me too long if you don't put the work in. And and that's, my staff had that same work ethic. Been around me, and they've all said to me, they've been with me for 8 years. The time I've been in Parliament, they said it's the best job they've ever had. So they enjoy work because what I show encourages them to do the same work ethic, and that's why we achieve so much out of this office for so many Australians, and they get a kick out of it when we get a response back and thank you for what you've done, and that's what it's all about. I just love hearing that we've been able to achieve something for the people out there.
And you really do lead by example from an observational point of view. And I love that about not just you, but anyone that's in that role. And I don't want to bring up any dirty laundry specifically, but, David Oldfield, David Ettridge, Heather Hill, Brian Burston, Fraser Adding, and Mark Latham all previously in One Nation. Yep. What were the negative attributes that revealed themselves that allowed them to leave the party?
Right.
Was there a commonality, or were they all individual?
Yes. Well, there was a difference there. David Oldfield actually worked behind my back to actually take over the party. He thought he could do a better job than I did. And once he got elected to Parliament, Secretary said, "You can't do anything now, I'm here." So it's like, see you later. So he actually literally worked behind my back to actually get rid of me. That's why I resigned from the party in 2002, I think it was, 2002. I didn't come back to the party till 13 years later because I was asked to come back because the party was defunct. They actually did his time in Parliament, walked away, couldn't care less. It was all about David Oldfield, and that's the difference. Heather Hill had a lot of potential, Heather did, but because Peter Beattie deregistered the party in Queensland, they all left and formed their own political party, which they all lost their seats again. The ones that formed their own political party. Brian Burston, he didn't do the job to the best of his ability, and I refused to endorse him again for another term in Parliament. So therefore it was that. Fraser Anning was another one. He had his own agenda. He came in only because Malcolm Roberts was actually, he lost over that citizenship debacle. So Fraser Anning took on the seat, but he wasn't prepared to listen at all. So, look, and those members of Parliament that all walked away from me because Peter, as I said, 11 were elected. They all walked. 3 went independent, and the rest of them went and joined the South Political Party. I said, stay with me. I said, I'll get the party re-registered again, which I did. And, they wanted me to be president of their party. I said, no way. I said, I've got my own party. I'm president of my own party. So there's a lot of different reasons. And a couple of the other members in WA, they were all about their own, they wanted to run it with David Oldfield. They started with him. They're all gone. I'm still here. I'm still fighting on. I rebuilt the party again from absolutely nothing in 2015. And I've got now a state member in every state upper house council and across the mainland.
Brilliant. When I was going through when I got sober, I lost 97% of my circle of friends. Yeah. And it's not because they were bad people, is that we had really nothing in common. And I went through this huge grieving mourning process because I didn't know what I know now. And then I settled on a much tighter knit group of people that when COVID came about, finished off. So I was left with only strands of the hardcore true friends. Yeah. I relied on a lot of inspiration from people that had achieved what I had hoped to achieve and what I dealt with. What are some of the techniques or some of the people that you've been inspired by that have helped you learn how to deal with this barrage of the beating over the last 20 plus years?
No, I haven't learned from anyone. It's of how to deal with it. You don't. It's basically you say, okay, I've got a problem here. What's the best way to solve it? And the trouble with a lot of people is they underestimated me. And they had thought when I first got elected Parliament, I came from a fish and chip shop, or what would she know?
Yeah.
And the Liberal Party underestimated me, and they actually got rid of me. It was the public that got behind me, and I won that seat in 1996 with the biggest swing in the nation, with 22% swing. So anyway, and then had different ones that came on board, John Pasquarelli and different ones around me, all thought they could control me. It was like, and then then I started the party. They didn't want me to start a party. I said, I'm starting a party. Then I started the party. And then you had all these people come on board from all the other major political parties who were disgruntled and fed up with it. They all thought they'd get on board. And then it's like, oh no, we'll put her out there. She can actually perform. And then we'll pack her away because we know better how to run it than what she does. They've all gone. Everything I've done. And what I have now, I've got a structure that I've got really good people around me, which I ask for their advice. I ask my own staff for advice and opinions. It doesn't hurt to get advice. I don't know necessarily everything myself, but the smart person will ask other people. And at the end of the day, I make the decision.
Amen to that. Seek counsel, not opinion, is a great quote I heard once upon a time.
Yes, you do.
Because there's a lot of opinion out there.
At the end of the day, the whole structure comes down on top of me. If there's problems out there, then I've got to wear it. Any policy that's put up in the floor of Parliament or anything, I have to wear it. My speeches, I have to wear it. So at the end of the day, I have to be comfortable with something. And I'm very good at organising. I'm very good at reading the public, you know what? Because I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I might be a member of Parliament doesn't mean to say that I've forgotten my grassroots, where I've come from the hard days, of the hard work, going without, and being a single mother at 21 with 2 children, with not enough food to feed all of us. But I made sure the kids were being looked up, and I made sure they had a roof over their head. I've never forgotten this, and I will never.
Good on you.
And I'll never forget it. That's why I can relate to people. But don't expect me to go out there or other people who work and pay their taxes to give you a way of living that you're not prepared to actually fight for and do yourself.
Amen to that. And as a son of a mum who was raised 3 boys, and my father did his best to be involved, but it was a very thankless task, and she did an amazing job. Because mine did, and so did yours. Look where we are.
True. No one asked you to bring the children in the world. You brought them in the world. It's your responsibility, not your neighbours, not the friend down the road, not someone else on the other side of the country. It's your responsibility. And the buck stops with you. And I'm sick of these people. Oh, what's more in it for me? I'm over it.
You're going to steal other people as well, Pauline.
G'day there, it's your host Laban Ditchburn, and sorry for interrupting the video that you're watching. But I wanted to bring to your attention podcastingheroes.com. Podcastingheroes.com is a five-minute video training series that I created especially for you. If you have a podcast or you're about to start a podcast and you want to figure out a way on how to attract the highest level talent in your niche, or niche, depending on where you are in the world, into your world, and then develop know, like, and trust so that they will then invite you into their world and inevitably into their platforms, on their platforms, and to their audience. Even if you don't have a big audience, there's the caveat as well. And what I'm teaching is exactly what I've gone through in my own podcasting journey. So have a beautiful day, podcastingheroes.com. Get your free training today.
I'd like to ask you, out of all of the misrepresentation that people, they think they hear something that you're sharing and they lose their whatever, what's the most frustrating thing out of all of the things that people have judged you for that you just wish you could easily explain to people?
That I have no regard for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of this country, that they think I'm superior because this racist tag was thrown around there. And that started the day after my election in 1996. I did an interview with the Australian newspaper. Anyway, it was recorded. But I said, I called for, right at the very beginning, I've called for equality for all Australians. And I said, because of the politicians' wisdom, we're giving out all these benefits purely based on race, which is racist in itself. So I always call for it should be on a needs basis, not based on race. So anyway, the Australian wrote the article, and on the Monday after my election, on the 3rd of May 1996, it said, Hanson won't represent the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Well, then they took me to the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity, so they complained about that. And then it went on from there to the court. Sir Roland Wilson, who left he's passed away now, he was left-leaning judge. But once he actually got the tape he made them present the full tape of the interview. And upon listening to the full tape of the interview, it wasn't at all what the journo wrote in that article. So there was no talk about I wouldn't represent them at all. So I was found not guilty. Now, from a front page in newspaper to a little article in the back, that's what happened. So the people have this opinion that I'm racist. And I tell people out there, if you criticise anything, that's not racism. You question high immigration, that's not racism. You question accountability where the money's going, that's not racism. And if you call for equality for all Australians, regardless of race, that is not racism. So people need to wake up to what is happening in our society. And if you do support this, you are racist. So that's what I say to people. Understand my policies, understand what I said. And then people say to me, oh, well, you're racist. I said, tell me one racist comment that I'll make. And the word racist really means to believe your race to be superior to another. Never, ever, ever advocated that. And as a member of Parliament, I will continue to question where the money's gone, accountability, all Australians should be treated equally. And I also have pointed out that I respect those people that have come from other countries to have migrated to Australia and have given their undivided loyalty to this country. I respect those people as well. I don't think I could move to another country and give that country another loyalty because I love Australia. And I tell you, this also, I used to go to the citizenship ceremonies years ago in 1997, 96, 97. And I was asked to as a member of Parliament. And the council in Ipswich used to invite me to it. But then I used to stand there and I'd welcome them and I'd tell them, I said, I'll tell you now, if you don't give this country your undivided loyalty, I'll be the first one to take you to the airport, put you on a plane and wave you away. They used to really laugh. Anyway, to the shock and horror of the councillors and everyone else, they actually stopped inviting me. But guess what? I was the last one there, still meeting each one of them hours after, while they had their photos with me and all the others were gone. They weren't interested. They all wanted to know me, talk to me. And this is who I am.
Yes, it doesn't take much, certainly from my own personal N=1, to realise that people just are leaning off the top and running with that. And as a New Zealander who's a dual Australian citizen through descent, my father's third generation, fourth generation Australian. My wife is Russian, who's an Australian citizen, who graduated top of her class at Victoria University for English, speaks better English than you and me put together now, and has embraced the Australian culture. And, you know, her last name's Maidenova, which means 6 dot balls in cricket, in case you're wondering, like, how much more Australian do you want to get, people? So I'm on board with that, certainly.
But I'll tell you another thing. A lot of people don't realise my first husband was Polish. He actually came out here after the Second World War with his mother, and his mother was one who was in the concentration camps. And he came out here as a 6-year-old with his mother. And he was my husband. So I understand refugees. I understand the whole concept. I understand about migrants coming here for a new way of life.
Well, not Australia. Just going back to the racism comment, what's so interesting to me is, I know you don't know me very well, Paul. I mean, my whole philosophy in life is I just want to know the truth so I can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
So I interviewed this gentleman by the name of Scott, who was the former Grand Dragon in the Ku Klux Klan. Can you believe it? Now he got out of it, and he's working with Daryl Davis, the African-American man who's been taking the Klan costumes off the Klan members. Like, he's been
Is this in America?
In America, yeah, not in Australia. And so he's seen the error of his ways, and now he's the biggest, brand ambassador for, bringing people together. But I was fascinated to learn about why he would end up wanting to go down that path. And he shared with me when he was a young boy, he had a horribly abusive father, and he murdered puppies by throwing them up against the wall in front of Scott when he was like 5 or 6. And so he witnessed this, and he wanted connection. He tried to join the Italian mob, but they wouldn't let him in because he wasn't Italian. He tried to join Al-Qaeda and couldn't get in, so he found his way into the Klan. And he said to me that all the men that were part of this community all came from horribly broken, abusive homes.
They want a sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So if we are to solve or begin to solve some of the major challenges we've got going, we need to bring that sense of belonging back towards a functional sense of belonging. And maybe it's around reuniting as Australians once again.
Politicians and I'd say United Nations in their quest to actually get rid of the sovereignty of nations, and basically they're trying to destroy the Western values, and that's what's happening. So you're breaking down the national identity of a nation. So all these people, and this is why people have been pushing for multiculturalism, and right from the very beginning, I was not for multiculturalism. Multiculturalism can be very tribal. People go, oh, well, the different foods and everything. That's it. That's got nothing to do with it. People don't understand the concept of it. So multiculturalism to me is that you have all the different concepts of tribes coming here. Different people can be Chinese, can be, Polish, or can be Russian, can be English, can be American, whatever. And so then what's taken into consideration is their beliefs, their cultures, and their laws. So when you have that, then you're not treating everyone under the one banner as Australians and under the laws treated equally. Because when you take a case to court, that person can be actually, prosecuted based on their cultural background or their upbringing, whatever. So that's it does break down the national identity of a country. So people who come here, in my view, should learn to speak the language, and they should assimilate and feel part of the community. But this is, I believe, what the UN and different ones is to break down the identity, and it was known as the melting pot. So when you actually break down the patriotism in the country, then you can control the people.
They're trying to divide us.
Yeah, they are trying to divide us because no one stands up, because you haven't got that patriotism that's there to stand up and fight for the country. So when you have all these people that don't feel they don't belong, so why should I fight for it? And I'll tell you now, if we had a war here in this country, how many think of these people now that are here who possibly have dual citizenship that will say, I'm not going to fight for Australia. I'll go back to my own country. Why would I put my life on the line? Why would I fight for this? Have you got any idea?
No idea.
Because do they really feel a part of it? That's a big question we need to ask ourselves in moving forward, because there's always the fear that we could be, Chinese might come down here, or another country that may want to because of who we are, where we are, our resources that we have, and for a lot of reasons that we need to make sure that we've got the right people here that want to, and that's why we've got to get back to patriotism, that we feel we belong, united in the country. Not like the government's tried to do with this voice, trying to divide us again with the Aboriginal people, regardless of the fact I was born here. This is my country. For people to say, go back where I came from, well, where's that, mate? It was just stupidity.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me about these idiots, these politicians. They should be reuniting us and pulling us together, not dividing us.
I agree. And Pauline, I've visited about 35 countries and I've lived in 7 now.
Oh, okay.
And what I find interesting is that people are the same everywhere I go. I've been to China, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, I think what you're saying when you say the Chinese, right, is not the collective Chinese people per se, but the bureaucrats that are the ones that are pulling the strings from us. Do you know what I mean? So I just think they're
being controlled because it's under communists, and they actually have to do what they're told.
Correct. Yeah, it's interesting, and that's what I've come to learn, understanding the language around. I think that's why some people are getting triggered, because they're not paying attention. And I think I heard you say this recently, that most Australians that are complaining haven't been outside of Australia. They don't know what it's like. We live in this utopia, and Australia really hasn't gone through any major crisis since World War II. I mean, like this, sure, there's been some downturn, but like you go to Venezuela, talking to a guy yesterday, you go to Cuba, they had a famine. My ex-girlfriend was from Zimbabwe. The fruit bowl of Africa went through hyperinflation and a famine. Like, we can't imagine these kind of things happening in this country. Do people have any idea about what could happen if we don't?
The younger generation have travelled. No, they don't. And that's why the older generation, my age, that have actually experienced a different Australia after the war years, but knowing that we didn't have everything at our fingertips. And so they take a lot of things for granted. And then they scream about climate change. All the rest. Are they going to do away with their mobile phones? Are they going to do away with their computers? Are they going to do away with their travel, their car or whatever? These people really haven't gone without much at all. But there are some young ones, I'm not saying all young ones, but a lot of them being propped up by their families, by their parents and grandparents. So really, have they done it tough? Look, life's experiences can put a different head on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've been through in life will actually shape you and mould you into your way of thinking. And I think we're missing that from a lot of, I think, bureaucrats and politicians that are being brainwashed through an educational system or in the universities that really aren't trying to solve the problems. It's all about their survival. And that's what I find frustrating about the whole lot, is it's not about your survival and your job as a politician. It's about you finding the solutions for the survival of Australians out there that need that direction. They need leadership. And that's what this country's lacking, leadership.
If you were Prime Minister, Pauline, do you think there would be a magnified difference in the kind of impact you'd be able to have to Australia?
Of course there would. This country wouldn't want to know what happened to them.
Would you like to, do you deal in hypothetical?
Look, I think what we've got to do is unite people. Everyone needs to be made feel a part of the nation. We've actually got to address our welfare system, which is now $260 billion a year. You've got nearly 1/3 of your budget is paid out in welfare payments. You've got over 900,000 people that are sitting around on welfare. That's no good for them, no good for the country, the future of the country. We've got aged people living in poverty. The escalation of the cost of living, that's only because of government policy again. Climate change, that's what it's about. It's a scam. It's a scam. And there is another scam that is out of control. We can fix that tomorrow if they had the will to do it. We could actually open up this country, the resources that we have, resources that are just flowing out of this country for other countries. So we're not benefiting from it. And a case in point, we're only getting $2.4 billion now from our gas from the Northwest Shelf, because I've harped about it to the former Prime Minister and the current one, 3 Prime Ministers, mind you. And we're now getting some $2.4 billion. We were only getting $300 million from it. Now it's 2.4. But we export more gas than Qatar, and they're actually getting $26 billion plus a year from their gas. So that's money that we're missing out on. The waste of spent money in this country, what the bureaucrats are paid, is unbelievable. They shouldn't be paid that sort of money. So, the whole thing is whacked, and the unions are running the country, the government, especially the Labor Party. There are so many things that can be addressed. Our defence, we're not looking after our defence personnel, defence force. Now they're putting out a call for foreigners to come into our defence.
That's not going to end well, is it? Oh my goodness.
And then you've got the government thinks it's a wise thing to pay $600 million to Papua New Guinea for their own football team. Give me a break.
That's a hell of a league team over there, isn't it?
We can't even look after our own Olympians, that we expect them to perform for us at the Olympics, but we're giving money and building stadiums for footballers who are on huge amounts of money. So I'm sorry, and they can be on about gender dysphoria. What's happening to kids in the classroom? Oh no, you can be a girl today if you want it. No, be a boy. How bloody ridiculous is all this rubbish?
you want to hear a weird Laban hypothesis, Pauline?
Right.
You interested in this? So I wanted to finish on a positive note because we've just spoken about some pretty heavy stuff, and I love that you're so open about this, Pauline. I really appreciate it. What is some advice, closing thoughts for someone listening, watching to this, who is in their early 60s, they're by themselves, they are running out of money, they're broke? What's a message of hope and inspiration that the great Senator Hanson can share? No pressure.
Okay, so if you're by yourself, there's plenty of organisations out there. Go and join the men's shed. Go to your local church and the communities. You can give of yourself to actually find peace in your life. You don't need to have a lot of money. You can do anything. Go out and do some gardening. Go and grow some few veggies. Do some knitting like me. You know, and follow those people around you. Everything doesn't really come down to money. As long as you can put a roof over your head and you can feed yourself. But when you can give of yourself to other people, you may have a wonderful talent out there that people are just wanting to tap into. Never give up on yourself just because, I'm 60, I'm too old now. Perhaps I've just turned 70. And, and as I said to a lot of people and young ones also, never pull yourself down. There are so many people out there who want to pull you down, put yourself on a pedestal. And the only one who can pull you off it is yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pauline Hanson.
Thank you.
I got superpowers. I got superpowers. I got superpowers. Working 7 days a week and 24